Hello and welcome to my art space. My name is Terri Heinz and today I'm going to be making furniture for the Faery schoolhouse. I'll be making a tiny chair for little fairies to sit in, a table for them to do work at, and even a fairy bookcase. Let's get started. Okay, you're going to need your X-Acto knife and you're going to need some twigs, some hot glue, and some regular tacky glue like Aleene's tacky glue, which I love very much. So, you go out into your yard and you pick up a few twigs. They need to be just about, maybe 3/16 of an inch in diameter. As you can see, they're really not that big. You need 4 of these for the legs. My legs are about 1.25 inches long. And then you need 4 pieces cut with your X-Acto knife to about 1 3/4 inches long. You need a couple just little pieces for the spacer in the back of the chair, and some longer twigs that you can do the ladder back of the chair with. You can make that any length you want, just anything you want at all. And then I took the spacers and I used some regular Aleene's wood glue, and I used my little healing mat with the grid on it because it kind of helps me keep it square. I can line it up on there. So once you get this dry, I usually let this dry quite a while so it's pretty sturdy. Then you can pick your twigs, decide how long you want them, get a couple of sticks ready to go in between like this. Can you see that? They're just little spacers. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our hot glue gun and we're going to put a little bit of extra glue on here just to strengthen it before we get started. Just kind of smooth it out like that. And I want to make this as the seat of my chair. So it's going to go on like this. Since the glue gun is already sticky, it already helps keep it on. Then I turn it upside down and I'm going to apply a little bit of glue here and wrap the leaf down a bit. Do the same on the other side, a little bit of glue. And wrap that leaf down, and there you have the seat of your chair. Next, to make it even stronger, I'm actually going to fill the center of this with hot glue around the edges so that it really holds well. And then I'm just going to let that sit for a few moments. So I am going to start with some of those legs. I have a little bit of chopped up moss. See, I've chopped it up kind of fine. I'm going to put some glue on, and then I'm going to hold my leg there. And while it's drying, I'm just going to pack a little bit of moss around there. Gives it a little bit of extra strength to put that moss on. While the hot glue is setting. I can always add a little bit moss later. Just going to kind of let these cool. And we're going to work on the back. The back is so easy. As you can see in this other alternative one I have here, all it is 2 long twigs, one that has this one piece that goes across, and then I just cut out another little piece and stuck it in between, and that makes a really nice ladder back for a fairy chair. So all I have to do is add a little bit of glue, and let that set. I have to be careful because the hot glue will stick to the healing mat a lot more than the Aleene's tacky glue will. But I can lift it off. There. And again, I can do the same thing. As I'm working with it, I can add moss to it for extra strength. But this actually feels quite sturdy at the moment. That's really quite sturdy. I don't think I want it to be that tall, so I'm going to just break them off at a height that I like. I kind of like it like that. I'm going to add a little bit more glue because I did mess it up when I broke that. Just add a bit more. Get that to go in there. And as that cools, it's going to get much more sturdy. I'll put a little bit of moss there. I think the moss also gives it a little bit of fairy character. And when that's completely dry, it's going to be quite sturdy. Right now it's still a bit warm. See? Now we're just going to have to take our chair, turn it upside down, pull some of the hot glue strings off of it. I'm just going to take the glue gun and I'm going to put a little bit of glue here in this corner. I think I'm going to go this way. Actually, I like that. A little bit of glue in that corner. And then I'm going to well, that is just too sweet. Look at that sweet mossy chair. Can you see that? Let's move on to the bookcase. I bought some basswood, 3/4 of an inch wide, 1/16 of an inch thick. And I cut them into lengths that fit on the end wall of my schoolroom. So this is about 3.5 inches wide. So I cut 4 shelves at about 3.5 inches wide. And then out of 1-inch basswood, I cut 2 end pieces that are about 4 inches tall. And then I thought I should give them a bit of an old look. I wanted them to look a bit distressed. So I just took, whatever I had around and I kind of distressed up the panels. And then I also used my pen knife just to kind of cut up the edges, some like this, so that it's not completely straight, like it's been worn. I want it to look old and used. And then after I did that, I just used a piece of sandpaper to smooth the edges. And then I got all 4 of them ready. And the end pieces I did the same, except the top of the end pieces I sanded the edges so that they're round, but I kept the bottom straight. The next thing I need to do is stain the wood, and this is just an old can of Minwax wood finish. I found this in the garage and it's going to work just great. I have a small cloth, small soft cloth, and I'm just going to put on a rubber glove. That is very advisable. Just going to dip it in, and then I'm just going to rub on the stain. I'm going to get all the pieces stained, and then let them dry, and it'll be time to assemble them. This looks really good with all the distressing that I did to the wood. It gives it some depth and texture. See the wood grain? See the little holes? So now I'm going to finish staining the rest of the pieces, let them dry, and I'll be back. Now the bookcase is stained and dry, and I'm going to assemble it on this grid map with some Aileen's tacky glue. She works pretty good for this job. You can also use hot glue if you'd like to. It's just whatever works best for you. Now I have glued on the straight line a piece of wood. You can tape one down just as a guide for this edge and to hold it up. And what I've done so far is I have dipped the edge of the bookcase in the glue, and then I just slid it right up along there. So these two I put in, And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just like that. See, the grid helps me make sure my bookcase isn't too wonky. Now the first two shelves are graduated about the same distance apart, but the third one I want bigger to hold larger items, so I'm going to put that one way down there. Now this isn't supposed to be perfect or anything, it's just a little bookcase that you can put a lot of the Faery fun stuff on. Now I want to apply some glue to the edges now, so I'm going to apply some glue without knocking them down, I hope. So now I'm just going to kind of line this up and put the end piece on. I'm going to try to go by the guide of, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to let that dry, and when it's dry I'm going to go back and add a little bit of glue underneath all of them, and then I'm going to tack a little bit of moss in there to make it a bit stronger. Now the bookcase is partially dry. I'm just using this little skewer to add little bits of glue inside and then putting in a little piece of moss just to help make it a bit stronger. Now there it is. It's not quite finished drying, so you can still see the white glue, but when the white glue dries you won't be able to see it anymore and you'll just see the moss. It's going to be a beautiful bookcase to put in the Faery schoolroom. I'll just let that dry a couple of hours before I try to use it. Let's do the table. The table is made again out of basswood. This is about 2 inches wide and about 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's thicker than the wood I used on the bookcase. I also gathered some larger twigs. These are about 3/8 of an inch thick in diameter, and they're about 2 inches long. You can decide the length of your tabletop by how big your shoebox room is, just like you can decide with your bookcase how big it should be. Now I distressed the top. You can see that I've poked holes in it and softened all the edges and rounded the corners. And I cut the legs to 2 inches. Now I'm going to go and stain the tabletop the same way. We have our tabletop that is stained and dried, and our legs ready, a little bit of moss, and I'm going to use hot glue for the table. It'll be a little bit stronger for the larger legs. I'll start by putting a circle of glue in a corner, and then choosing a leg and just pushing it down. Quite simple. And then I'm just taking a little bit of moss and putting it around the leg. There. Now we have all 4 legs on, and the ones that are dry are quite sturdy. And there we have it. The table is finished. And we have 2 chairs, and we even have a Faery bookcase. Now we're ready to assemble the entire school and decorate the inside. Thank you so much for stopping by today and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me make Faery furniture. The next video will be all about decorating the inside and then putting it all together. See you soon.